Hey everyone, this is AVP60685 with part 2 of why I play Nancy Drew games. This is probably going to end up being a 3-parter since I'm realizing I'm rambling. So I'm going to tell you how I started playing the games. I started playing the Nancy Drew games when I went to Target one day after college classes were over for the day. And I like shopping in the bargain bins. And I noticed that they had 2 Nancy Drew games in there. Now, I'm going to point out one thing. Most Nancy Drew games are normally $20. You can get them a little cheaper depending on where you go, but this was Target, okay? So keep that in mind. I went into Target and saw that they had Nancy Drew, Message in a Haunted Mansion, and Nancy Drew and the Royal Tower, which are games 3 and 4 in the game series. So I immediately installed the games onto my computer, and I started playing game 3 since I like to play things in order if possible. So I started playing game 3, and I got as far as to where Nancy Drew has to solve the tile puzzle. Sorry, I can't hardly talk. The tile puzzle where you have to put them in a certain order in order to rearrange it. And that puzzle was a little tricky for me because I was trying to make sure I was putting the shapes in the right position. And I thought I could do it because I had done a similar puzzle to that in school. I believe I did it in geometry. Could have been algebra, but I don't remember right offhand. So I was a little stuck, and I was getting frustrated because I wasn't hearing Nancy saying anything. I thought I had solved it, I thought I had completed it, but when you complete it successfully, Nancy does say something, but I had not completed it successfully, so I was stuck. And I started playing game 4 a little bit, and I had Nancy, as far as the elevator had gotten stuck, and Treasure in the Royal Tower, and it got stuck. Oh, and in case you were wondering what the Nancy Drew files books look like, they look like this. I believe that's Nancy on the cover, the blonde-headed girl. The guy, I'm not really sure because I have not read this book yet. Normally it tells you on the first page, which I'm going to point out. It tells you the case, what she has to do, her point of contact, her suspects, which are normally it's anywhere from 1 to 3, sometimes more people, and complications. So it's an interesting, it's really good. Some of the books I've read, some of them are titles actually of the games, such as Secrets Can Kill, Stay Tuned for Danger, and I believe that's all of them. Yeah, that's all of them. Because this is game 109. Sorry, not game, book 109. Like I said, these are much smaller than the original ones. This is one of the original ones. This is book 39. Clue of the Dancing Puppet, which I have not read either, but some of them are based on the games as well, such as The Secret of the Old Clock, The Secret of Shadow Ranch, things like that. There's a bunch of those. I believe I'm not sure how many there are of these. According to this, there are, oh, they didn't number them. That's funny. Let me see if I see any others that are named after. Nope, I don't see any others. Now, I'm going to point out one thing about the Nancy Drew mystery stories, these hardback ones. As you see, Nancy Drew is depicted as a redhead in this one. And typically, these stories were written in the 1930s and they were written for young women at the time. And Nancy typically in these stories is wearing a dress, and we see more references of Bess and George in these. These right here, the Nancy Drew file ones, as you see, Nancy is depicted as a blonde, and once in a while Bess and George will show up, and Ned has a more active part in these books than he does in these. These are more current. This one's copyright, if I can check real quick, is the copyright date is 1995, and the copyright for this one is, looks like the original one was 1962. And so, as you can see, there's a big difference between 1995 to 1962. Big difference. I mean, in these, the file stories, Nancy wears anything from pants to jeans to skirts. She wears almost anything in the books, and she does almost anything in them. And so, there's also another one which I have, which I'm not sure where I have it right offhand, but one of them is where she solves mysteries with the Hardy Boys, and it was 3 mini mysteries where Nancy solved the mysteries with Frank and Joe Hardy, and the mysteries typically ran for about, it was probably about 3 chapters for each one. They're smaller, and Nancy in that one is depicted as a redhead again. So they're smaller, they go by quickly, and it's a nice thing if you like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, which I do. I like the original ones better than the newer ones. Going back to the games. And the games, like I said, I started playing them, and then I went back to the bargain bin, I guess it was about 2 weeks later, and I noticed they had Nancy Drew, Danger by Design, and Creature of Capuque, which are games 14 and 15 in the series. And stay tuned for part 3. I'm going to tell you more about me playing the games and some of my favorite parts. So hang on for part 3.